popular idiot, obese to beast, also riding the Rachel train. Popular idiot is truly one. Thank you for calling me popular. Two, idiot, definitely true. I am absolutely. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we have a little bit of an update on the Rachel, Amberlynn, Reid, Emily situation that went on with the last video that we talked about. So that's this one right here, where I talked about everything that has been going on, a little bit of a TLDR. If you are not familiar, I'm sure most of you are. Rachel ended up making some videos about Amberlynn and Emily, and then it came out, Emily is the ex-feeder relationship that Amberlynn Reid was in. It came out that the information that Rachel got from Emily was basically based on the fact that Rachel had said that I'm going to give you half of the money that comes from that video. Right. And then people were very upset about that when that got announced and when it was told that that was what was happening, because people felt upset that their views were being used to basically fund Emily or whatever. Right. And so then that all came out. Rachel kind of came out and said, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I am actually going to donate the money to charity, because I don't want to give money to Emily, and she ended up taking the video down. There was a lot of stuff, right? So if you're familiar and you're not familiar, definitely go check out that last video that I made, or don't. It's completely fine if you don't want to. There's tons of other YouTube channels that are covering this probably a lot better than me. I am very aware of that. I am kind of on the outskirts, and there are people that are much more in the trenches. So if you are like, I want to know every little bit about this, there are plenty of channels that you can go to that will give you every single little ounce. I'm just explaining, my part, because there has been a little bit more. I've been involved a little bit more, not very much, but a little bit more since that initial video. And so the updates that have happened are there have been more screenshots that have been leaked, as well as Rachel actually made her own video kind of explaining herself and the reasons that this all happened. So that video was uploaded a day ago. I would recommend going to check it out. Again, make your own, come up with your own opinions on all of that stuff. But the things that I wanted to talk about are some of these screenshots that have been leaked. Now, it is important to understand where these are coming from. So from what I understand, these are from a Discord that Rachel was in with other content creators and other people that are kind of in the Amberlynn Reid Girl World space. So some of them are people that make content. I think some of them are just friends of, like, actual friends of Rachel's in real life. I don't really know exactly, but it was a small community of people that are familiar with the Amberlynn Reid stuff and all of that stuff that is going on. And some of these screenshots that have been leaked have implicated Rachel a little bit more. There has been some things that Rachel has said that she was flirting with Emily to get this information, and just other things, like just some other ways that Rachel has been talking that is just not the most flattering. And so that's what I wanted to talk about here. So I only have a few screenshots. There is so much more that there's other channels that you can go into, but these are the ones that I felt were important enough to talk about. And then I just want to add my own commentary, as someone that's been doing this for a long time, and general advice I have for really anyone that's even just consuming Girl World content. So you guys that are watching, as well as, this is not going to relate to as many people, but people that are making Girl World content. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. You're your own channel, you're your own person. But this is my advice to really anyone that would be wanting to get into this space, right? So this first screenshot that we're going to be going over is in regards to basically Rachel saying how much money she had made from that original video. Because again, if you remember, the initial kind of agreement was that Rachel was going to pay Emily half of the amount of money that she made on that original expose video, okay? And that ended up being quite a significant amount of money, because that video did very, very well. And so this is someone on the Discord says, genuinely considering reaching out to Emily, that kind of money would change my life. So that is in response to how much money Rachel had made on the video, right? And so it was a lot of money. So this person is saying, man, I should reach out to Emily because that would change my life, right? The amount of money that you have made off of this video. And then Rachel goes on to say, I feel like if people knew, they would be a lot more understanding. And then someone says, I doubt it. I think those with the hump will just like to have the help. I don't really know exactly what that's about. And then she says, they will, this is Rachel, they will anyway. When they see the donation, that video has made $3.6 thousand so far, so it will be forced out myself. So again, she's saying that like people are going to find out how much money I made because, you know, this donation that I'm going to do. So basically what ended up happening was Rachel was like, okay, I'm not going to give Emily the money. It's not going to happen. I'm going to instead donate half of that money to a charity. That's kind of what she ended up saying that she wanted to do. Now, in response to that happening, there was actually a bunch of people on that video where Rachel was saying that stuff, or on the community post where she was saying that she was going to donate this money. There was a lot of people saying, hey, you should donate that money to Beck. Again, Beck is another ex of Amberlynn's who's been going through a lot of medical stuff right now. And so they've been kind of dealing with some issues. And so people were saying, hey, you should donate this money to Beck, right? And so that is another part of the story here, right? And then, so I will be forced to out myself eventually, right? And then someone says, by the way, I'm not saying you are writing Emily's I'm just taking the piss of what Amber said, right? And then Rachel says, I will simp for money. Literally, did people think I was going to get the best tea in girl world for months and not have to get a bit muddy, right? So she's basically saying, you know, if you want to get this information, you have to kind of, get down and dirty with it, which, you know, I don't think that's a terrible way to look at it. But again, it is true, right? If you are going to, I think people have been saying, if you get too, if you want to touch the poo, you're going to get dirty or something like that, right? The way I see it is like Icarus, right? You fly too close to the sun, you end up getting burned, your beautiful wings melt, and then you kind of fall back down to earth, right? And it seems that that's kind of what has happened with Rachel. She kind of flew too close to the sun. She in my opinion, inserted herself too much. And then now it's hard to differentiate between what Rachel is doing and all of the other drama. And now it's just all become a thing, right? It's all become all part of the same thing. And therefore, people like me are making videos talking about it because it's all become part of this thing instead of being kind of a separate entity, which is what I always try and do, is not be too, get too involved. But again, that's just my advice. You don't have to take it. You could do whatever you want. Now, this next screenshot is basically in reference to that whole situation with Rachel giving the money to Beck. Now, I think that this happened a few days ago, so there have been kind of updates to this, which we will get into, but this is kind of what was shared in this Discord, right? So another reactor said, are you going to give the money to Beck? The comments were pretty overwhelmingly in favor of that. So basically everyone in the comments, because she made a community post, was saying, hey, you should give the money to Beck. Instead of giving it to charity, give it to Beck. This is someone that has been affected by Amberlynn. Everyone knows it. We've all seen it. And they are currently suffering quite a bit. We think that you should give this money to Beck. We feel that that is the best way to spend this money and maybe right the wrong that you have made, right? And so she responds, I don't think so, to be honest. Feels wrong. I can't explain why. But I can see how it's a huge FU to them both. So I can see the appeal. I might do a poll and then blame it on that. I don't know. So she's basically saying she wants to do a poll and then whatever people vote on is what she will do. And it seems that maybe she's hoping that people will vote, no, just donate it to charity. And then she can say, well, I did the poll and the poll said that I'm going to donate it to charity. So that's what I have to do, right? So she's kind of maybe hoping that that's what would happen. But then she says, but the poll would be Beck, so I've got time to think on it. If I do charity, I can write it off on my taxes, haha, right? And so, again, kind of being flippant. But I do understand maybe this is a Discord where she probably thought she was among only friends. It seems that there was someone that was, kind of a spy that obviously got all these screenshots and kind of outed her for it. So I understand maybe making a joke in with this, but definitely I don't think it's the best time and place for that. But again, if you feel like you're around friends, I can understand to an extent, right? And then someone says, I think that's for the best, TBH. And then she goes on to say, it feels cleaner. And then another person says, I didn't understand why people even suggested it until I reread the statement a second time. But both from an accounts and moral POV, I think a charity with a registered charity number is best, right? And then Rachel says, I don't know why. Yeah, I lean this way also. But there is something satisfying and petty about giving it to Beck. I'll think about it. And so, again, to be completely fair, in this video right here, that Rachel has just uploaded as of a day ago, She says that that's the plan, right? The plan is that she is going to be giving the money to Beck, but she is also saying that she's struggling right now because Beck hasn't responded to any of her messages, where she's trying to say, hey, I have this money. I'm trying to give it to you. I don't know how. And Beck hasn't responded to that. So obviously I hope that they're able to get that figured out, because I do feel like that's a relatively clean and honestly a pretty funny way to end this saga, is helping out someone that does seem that they need it, which is Beck. So I hope that does end up happening. I do want to make that clear, right? So maybe it didn't look the best, but it seems that since these messages, because again, these messages that we're looking on were the 23rd of October, and now it is, we're almost midway through November. So there has been some time between those. So I want to make that very clear. This next video kind of goes into the whole flirting thing, right? So Rachel, this is her talking about Emily. So she says, she sent me a video of her smoking. And this person said, that's weird. Oh, that feels like her dipping her toe into video calling. And then Rachel says, I flirted a little bit. Not gonna lie, I wanted the tea. And then this person said, delicious cancer stick in my ashtray mouth, delicious. I think apparently from what I've seen is that there can be some sort of fetish with watching people smoke or sending videos of you smoke. I don't know. Definitely not something I'm into. I'm not a fan of smoking, but to each their own, I guess, right? Rachel says, I got a bit uncomfortable, not gonna lie. I'm a big old flirt and she took the bait. But that's how I got the tea. So she's basically saying that she flirted purposefully and intentionally, right? Kind of, in my opinion, mess with this person's emotions to get an outcome that she wanted, right? Which was the tea, so she could make this video. So she basically used manipulation to get what she wanted, which I personally think is probably one of the most common things that we talk about with Girl World, is the fact that Amberlynn manipulates and Emily manipulates. And it seems like that's kind of doing exactly what you talk about and condemn to get what you want, and then therefore profit off of that, right? Which I think that's another point that I want to talk about. Everyone that makes videos on Girl World that is relatively large is making money off of those videos. I'm making money off of these videos. Rachel makes money off of her videos. Everyone else that makes videos on Girl World makes money off of those videos. I would say the vast majority of those people do it because they make money off of those videos, myself included, okay? I'm not going to sit here and morally grandstand and say I'm better than everyone, right? I'm making this video because I'm assuming people are going to watch it, which therefore means I will make money on it. That is the truth of the matter. But I do feel there are ways that you can do it that are a little bit more, morally righteous maybe than others, but to some extent, no one is morally pure, because we are basically making videos talking about others online and then getting paid to make those videos. I think that's important, right? So I just want to say that. And this person says, it's okay to fancy Emily, be honest. We will listen, we don't judge. I'm assuming that's kind of joking. And then I'll show you the smoking video tomorrow, right? So that's in response to that. Now this next part is where I actually ended up getting kind of thrown into this, which I thought was interesting. Is because someone in this Discord posted my last video that I uploaded, and they said, popular idiot, obese to beast, also riding the Rachel train. Popular idiot is truly, one, thank you for calling me popular. Two, idiot, definitely true. I am. Absolutely. And I've made it very clear, especially when it comes to the Girl World stuff, there are so many other people that have much more information than me. I always say that, even in that video, right? I even said that Rachel's videos, I think the research she does a much better job than I do. She puts a lot more work into her videos, for sure. Okay. So I want to make that very clear. I'm not sitting here saying that I make the best videos on the internet. Certainly not. Okay. I make my videos. That's all I do. Right. And I do want to say that in these, with all of these screenshots, or at least this one right here, Rachel does not say anything. So I don't know exactly how she feels about this, but these were posted in the same Discord, right? So this person says, popular idiot, obese to beast is also riding the Rachel train, and then they have my thumbnail on there. And then this person said, this is why I'm watching Vintage Jimmy. Almost everything I was being offered was nonsense. So I thought I was going to opt to be intentional silly. I don't really know what that's about. And then this person says, a 20-minute video could never actually cover what happened, which automatically means this is crap. And then I'm avoiding other people talking about Rachel at the moment. It feels too close to the case, right? And so it's funny, right? This comment about the 20-minute video, I mean, I agree. There's definitely again, and I always say that with this stuff there, you could spend hours and hours and hours combing every single detail. That is not what I'm trying to do in my videos. I'm trying to cover the things that I feel are important and then share my opinion on that stuff. Certainly I could go and grab all the screenshots and read them all out, but I just don't want to do that. That's not the video that I want to make. I try to grab the things that I feel are important and then share my experience on that. And so that's kind of what I do. And so those were the screenshots that I felt were important. I just thought it was funny that I ended up getting kind of thrown in the middle of this. I mean, I put myself in the middle of it by making my original video. But that's kind of the updates as of now, right? As I said, Rachel ended up filming this entire video, which you certainly can go check out and watch for yourself, and you can kind of decide for yourself how you feel about, the situation, and if you feel that she kind of had responded in a way that was good, or if you disagree or whatever, right? That's completely up to you. But I think this whole situation, and one of the main reasons I want to talk about this is because when we talk about Girl World and being a, commentary channel, a reaction channel, whatever term you want to use, I think that it is important to, if you want to sit here and talk about something that's going on, to try not to insert yourself too much to where now you are a part of the drama. I think that it's one of those things that it might do well for a little bit of time, right? You might, and Rachel certainly has made a big splash because of this, but I think as far as for long-term success, I don't think that this is the right way to go about it. I think just being able to talk about the situation from an outside's perspective, I think is more valuable, and it leaves you less vulnerable to things like this happening, because now people are going to be talking about you as well. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this, Rachel will become the biggest channel on the platform as far as Girl World. And I mean, her channel has been blowing up for sure. It's been doing very, very well. And so, that's just my advice that, wasn't really asked for. But I do think that, it's important to, if you want to stick around for a long time, to try and, I don't know, temper the things that you're doing and not try and throw yourself in the middle of it just because you want to be the person that gets all the information. I think that this was, and I'm sure Rachel would agree, a blunder. This was not a smart decision. And the thing I always struggle with is, would we know about this if this stuff wasn't leaked, right? Because I don't think that Rachel would have come out and said, you guys, guess what? I made a mistake, without there being no reason, right? Without maybe Emily threatening to bring this stuff up, or without, someone screenshotting this information and threatening, right, about it, right? So I think that also plays a role into why maybe someone would want to support or no longer want to support Rachel in those kind of tactics. But that's just my opinion. I wanted to share, the information that's happened since the last video that I made and share my thoughts. So I would love to know what y'all think down in the comments section down below. If there's anything that I missed, please always feel free to let us know down in the comments. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.